Hello again. This is Lauren Anderson, contributor to Great Black Speakers, and today I'm speaking with Bethanee Bryant. Bethanee is a speaker, a poet, and a mentor, and we are elated to be talking with her today. So, welcome, Bethanee.
Thank you, Lauren. I'm so happy to be a part of this. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, our pleasure, our pleasure. So, please give us an introduction of who you are and what you do.
Well, my name is Bethanee Bryant, but my full name is Bethanee Epiphany Joyana Bryant, and I am a motivational speaker. I focus more on speaking to the youth, so high school kids, college students, that's where my niche is. I'm also a mentor, so I mentor young ladies about healthy dating habits. We talk about how to properly interact with boys. I'm also a poet. I love poetry. And here in Los Angeles, I'm at different venues speaking my poetry. It's what I love to do, using my voice in many different aspects.
Wow. So you do many things, and I must say that you do them well because I have watched some of your poetry performances, which have left me in awe, and I think you're a very good poet. So great job with that.
Thank you.
In regard to your speaking, tell me about some of the emotional and yeah, some of the emotional struggles or mental struggles that you speak to in your engagements.
Well, I just wrote a book entitled My Quarter of a Century Life Lessons. And in them, I share or I talk about the issues that I had after I graduated from college. And I think a lot of young people are struggling with this idea of where they're supposed to be by a certain age or by a certain point. And that's something that I definitely struggled with. After I graduated, it was very tough to find work in my field, even though at that time I wasn't really sure what that field looked like. And I think probably 85% of college graduates have absolutely no idea what they're going to do with their life or with their skills. And I was right there. And I'm thinking, how come I'm not this black professional making all this money that I was guaranteed? Because that's why you go to college. And it wasn't panning out the way I had expected. And emotionally, I fell into a very dark space. And I was telling myself that I was a loser and that I hadn't accomplished anything. And where was I going? How come I hadn't done this and that? Basically, kicking myself over and over, doing a lot of destructive things mentally and emotionally to myself. And it wasn't until I kind of had this epiphany where I realized that me wallowing in my sadness wasn't really helping me move forward. And it was just like this aha moment. And I kind of jumped out of it and I slowly dug myself out of that hole. And I did that by changing the conversation that I had with myself. So instead of thinking negative thoughts, I changed it into a positive dialogue. I started looking at how much I had accomplished as a young black female here in America and how much further I had to go. And that conversation helped me feel better internally. And internally, it shows on the outside, right? So it's working from the inside out. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of young people and adults forget about that, the idea of cultivating what's on the inside first. And then the outside will, things will start coming into fruition in the right way. And so those are some of the things that I talked about in my book.
Wow. Yeah, that is definitely a solid point that you made in regard to being the recent graduate and having this grand expectation. Because listen, I was there, okay? I went and I came out and I had that master's degree and I said, okay, where's the master's degree money? And
Right.
then they were like, oh no, wait, they didn't tell you it was 5 to 7 years of work experience and, all that stuff. And I was like, wait, no one tells you that in college.
Exactly.
So I think it's a very important message, for people who are graduates to get out and speak to college students and just inform them of what the realistic expectation is out of college. And I think, you're doing a great job with that book and highlighting that issue. So tell me, you are considered to be an ultimate communicator. And I've watched some of your speaking videos, and I must say that you orate very well. So, what kind of techniques or methods can you provide to the audience in the event that someone wants to be, a speaker or an orator? What kind of techniques can you offer?
Honestly, I did lots of theater. I did theater in high school and I did it in college. And I think that's something that helps when you're speaking, really speaking with passion and using different vocal variety with your voice, because you have to be able to captivate an audience. Especially me, I'm dealing with young people whose attention span is short. Yeah. And you have to captivate them early on. And I do that by being theatrical, by being dramatic. I also incorporate poetry into it. I feel it's a medium that a lot of young people can relate to. So sometimes before I even start speaking, I'll just say a poem right then and there before any introductions, before anything, because that's what they're expecting, this long drawn out introduction. And when they hear the poem, or after they hear the poem, they're more attentive because they want to know, where is this coming from? Who is this lady? She hasn't said anything. So those would be the main things that I use.
Yeah, definitely infusing entertainment with young people is helpful, right? So that's a good thing that you incorporate the poetry. When you do the poetry, what types of conversations are you having, or what is within your poetry?
That's a good question. Well, a lot of the poetry is personal, and I talk about relationships. I talk about beauty and learning to love who I am and what I look like, learning to embrace my hair and my dark skin. I also talk about the relationship I had with my father. So I incorporate just a lot of different personal experiences that I've learned from, once again, and incorporate that into my poetry. Mm-hmm. And it turns out that a lot of people can relate.
Definitely. Yeah, I saw one of your performances. I think it was titled Odo.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that. I was like, she's talking to me. Okay.
I love poems too. A lot of love poems too. It's funny you said that. A lot of people enjoy Odo as well. It's a story of love lost. Mm-hmm. And I have a part 2. I need to record that one as well.
Yeah. But, yeah. It's very relatable for sure. So tell me about the quarter century of your life. There's lessons in there that you are teaching. What types of lessons can the reader come out with after reading that book?
That's a good question as well. I actually have the book with me.
Okay. It's so cute.
Thank you. My Quarter of a Century Life Lessons. It's on Amazon, Kindle, Nook. And a few of the lessons I talk about is, number one, remembering not to compare yourself to anyone else. I think it's a very detrimental practice that a lot of young people get caught up in, especially with the rise of social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. They're seeing pictures of their peers' lives as it plays out, not realizing that these photographs are only showing one side. And that while you're over here wondering, how did that person pay for that vacation? How did he or she get that job? The other person's wondering, how did you get that boyfriend? How did you get that girlfriend? How come I'm not in a relationship? So it's this idea of not being secure, this notion of being ungrateful for what they actually do have, and being fooled into thinking that their peers have it all together when they don't. So never compare yourself. It's terrible. Also, the deadly practice of negative thinking, negative speaking. What comes out of your mouth, your body hears, and it reacts and it responds to that. So it's important that you're building yourself up with positivity at all times. Also, the importance of being around a positive group of people. Your peers have a very great influence over you, and it's important to have positive peer pressure. You know, you have friends that are doing things, friends who are ambitious, friends who are really trying to make a difference and do something great with their lives. Those are the people that you need around you. And all the naysayers you need to keep at bay. I also talk about the importance of networking and how that's so key, because sometimes it's really not about what you know, it's about who you know. And after I graduated college, I noticed that a lot of the jobs that some of my peers had, they knew somebody that knew somebody that knew somebody. And the importance of establishing connections. And I also talk about remembering who you are, which is a phrase that my mother always said to me and my brothers each and every day: remember who you are. And so many people have no idea who they are, and they have to go on like this journey to investigate and figure out what they like and what they don't like. Because once you have a solid foundation of who you are, you're rooted in something. So you're not easily swayed by outside forces. You get me?
Yeah.
And I talk about spiritual things as well, remembering who you are as a child of God. And I know there are some people out there who may not have a particular religion, or they may not believe in a God. But knowing that you are connected to something great, even if that's your family or your friends, there's something greater, you know what I'm saying, that will help you create a solid foundation for yourself. So just a few of the things.
Yeah, there's a lot of lessons that can be learned from that book. I'll have to definitely pick one up from you. So tell me, where can we find you on social media, website, contact information?
You can find me. I have a website. It's called www.bepifanespeaks.com. So that's BEPIFANESPEAKS.com. And I also have a blog, bepiphany.com. That's BEPIFANI.com. I'm on Facebook. Same thing, Be Epiphany, BEPIFANI. If you Google me, Bethanee Epiphany, I'll turn up there as well. So you can find me for sure.
Awesome, awesome. I'm sure that there will be an increase in followership after we're able to push these interviews out. So, what I'd like to know about you, Bethanee, is I was on your site and you have a few different things highlighted, and I wanted to know, how can one encourage this I can mentality? You have an I can mentality highlighted there, and I was wondering, well, what does she mean by that?
Well, I think it goes back again to this whole idea of positive thinking, where so many young people, they say, I can't, I don't know how. And the I can mentality is basically a cheerleader's mentality. And I'm telling him that, yes, you can, but it's going to have to start internally. So I can't do it for you. You really have to believe in yourself and know that you can. And I see that they can, and I point out all the progress that they've made. They're here, they're alive, they have a purpose. You have a body, you're able to do certain things. So yes, indeed you can. So it's basically a mentality that I'm drilling into young people when I see them.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, we certainly, need more young women like yourself to be a role model and, a great example of a positive mindset because it really is important. I agree with you with what you said as far as progress and the direction of your life and understanding that there are certain points when you get out of college and you may be discouraged with the workforce or a well-seasoned worker and some other kind of life condition being discouraging, but positivity certainly is a lifesaver, I would
It
say.
is. It is. And, even if you don't believe in all of this, I feel as though, wouldn't you rather feel good than feel bad? At least
Yeah.
give it a try. It's worth a shot. That's what I say.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So you are a youth coordinator, is that correct? For
Yes.
Toastmasters. Tell me about what you do with them.
So Toastmasters has a youth leadership program where we help to instill self-confidence in young kids by helping them develop and strengthen their public speaking skills. And I work with an organization called the Neighborhood Youth Achievers in Watts, and I work with them each and every summer. So it's a classroom of about maybe 20 to 30 students each year that come, and I basically help them nurture those skills. And it's so interesting because they are so bold and confident when they are sitting behind their desks. But the minute they stand in front of their peers to say something as simple as, I enjoy going to the movies because, they tense up, they recoil, they ask to sit down. A lot of them are dealing with other deeper emotional things that are going on. So on the outside, it looks like we're just talking about public speaking, but there's a lot more that goes into it for sure. There's a lot of walls, emotional walls that we have to break down because confidence, that takes a while sometimes to build up.
Well, you're doing great work. Definitely want to give you the kudos that you deserve. And we are certainly glad to have you a part of Great Black Speakers.
Thank you.
And we do anticipate, having you in front of more young people to make a even greater difference. So it has been a pleasure.
It has. I've enjoyed it, Lauren.
My pleasure. Thank you, Bethany.
Thank you.